here we are. Nir Salomon, so wonderful to have you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Your lovely wife. We couldn't manage to pull her on the set today. All right, so you are the leader, the president of an organization called Efrat.
Correct.
Based in Israel, which is pro-life.
Correct.
And to date, you have, what are the numbers? How many women have you helped
We've helped
choose?
today close to 90,000 women in Israel.
Make the choice to give life.
They gave life, and they actually, every single woman keeps her child.
That's amazing.
Because they really wanted the children,
Yeah.
but they just needed help.
Yeah.
And they also need a voice. There needs to be a voice out there. You know, we're talking now, soon is going to be an issue here in the United States.
Yeah, yeah.
And we want to provide also a Jewish voice, that we are out there, women are choosing, we want them to choose life.
Yes.
And if they need our support, we'll be there for them. We'll be there for them in Israel, and we'll be there for them wherever they need our help.
Well, that's what Israel does. They don't just take care of their own. It's a mitzvah to take care of those that are hurting and need wherever, friend or foe. So you are a brilliant gentleman. You have a plethora of degrees. There are so many paths you could have gone on.
I didn't even know you know all my degrees, but
well,
it's good to know. Look at that.
Listen, I was like, goodness gracious. But you know, obviously, with all of those different paths you could have gone, Hashem said, I need you for my kingdom. I need you to be my voice. I need you to love my daughters and help them. And you opted in and said yes. How did you go about doing that?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I've been volunteering for this organization for over 20 years.
Okay.
So I'm an attorney by trade. I was a fintech entrepreneur. And the founder of the organization about 3.5 years ago passed away. And I've been sitting on the board for many years. And they told me, you have to continue. You're the next person to be the voice for these women. And I said, that wasn't the path I thought God chose for me. But when I understood that there are women out there in need, and I knew the impact of this organization, and I thought about thousands of years ago, the midwives in Egypt, they knew that there is a vision for the Jewish people that they need to take a part in doing. That's where the name for the organization comes. Efrat is the name that was given to Miriam, Moses' sister, the quintessential midwife. Why? Because she didn't only help when they were giving birth, she gave them hope for birth. The women in Egypt knew that the babies, if it's a boy, it's going to be thrown into the Nile River. So why go ahead and have children? And the men said, of course not. Let's not have children. So they divorced their wives. They said, because here we have to think with our heads. And the women said, we can think with our earthly heads, but we can also think with our hearts that are given by God, and God has a plan. And we are going to follow his plan. Let God deal with these consequences. He says that we need to be fruitful and multiply. We will do that. What happens later? Let God take care of it.
That's right.
And here these midwives made sure that all of these children are going to be born. So I thought to myself, okay, I want to run my practice and do these great things. I thought I was doing amazing international work, but there's a woman there that's in need. So thank God I have a very supportive wife. And she said, listen, to give another woman the power to give life and then to help them live it, then that is something that you have to be called into. If God asks you, you have to stand by his side and do it and deliver.
So she encouraged you to
Absolutely.
follow the God path.
Absolutely.
And to say yes. And it sounds to me like you haven't looked back.
Absolutely. No, we're always looking forward.
Yeah.
We're always looking for the additional woman who needs support, and the stories just keep flowing in. And it's so painful to hear in the United States this discussion of choice and pro-life, where really most women, if they're given that choice, will choose to bring life.
Yes.
But they don't know that they have that choice.
You're right. You're right.
They just don't know that there's somebody out there to support her in the critical moment. That's all.
Yes.
Women have power. Somebody told me, you don't need to empower women. We're already empowered.
Yeah.
That's true. However, the midwives in Egypt didn't need to empower the women. They just needed to allow them to look into their inner selves and find their own inner power.
That's right.
Sometimes every single one of us needs that help.
That's right. Well, we need support, and we're not created to do life alone.
Not created to do life alone.
Right.
That's a great way.
And so many women, they make decisions to terminate a baby because of fear of the unknown, because of fear of finances, because they feel lack of support, because they haven't found that voice inside them, that maternal voice, that mothering voice. And then there's pressures from society.
Right.
And there's societal pressures that many young women cave into. But the way that we can help fix it is by providing places and spaces, resources and materials to let them know you're not alone.
Right.
We have your back.
Right.
And you don't just do it during the pregnancy. No. You provide post-pregnancy support.
Correct.
Tell us, just give us an overview. And by the way, you can go on israelbabies.com, right? And I love that because it's easy to remember, israelbabies.com. You can go on the website and you can see all of these things, and you can definitely pray for them and support them in any way that you are led to. And of course, every program I do, I want you to meet new friends, and I want you to become prayer partners, but then I also want you to participate in provision and resources, because if God's blessed you, and listen, this might not be something that angers you or evokes emotion in you, but there's something. But I know many of you out there, this does create an emotion, and you do want to help. And we've got to repopulate Israel. We just hit 10 million, right?
Yep.
Woohoo! 10 million, we got to keep on going. But we've got to help mommies and young people. And you know, with the war, Nir, there are people who are alone. They've lost parents, they've lost families. There are people who make aliyah and they don't have family there. They feel led to go to the land, they're called to the land, but then they don't have biological family. There's all kinds of things.
There's all kinds of things.
So give us an overview of, like, from when you walk in the door, or you know, the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s.
Yeah, so they never walk into the door.
Okay.
We bring them in their comfortable space.
Okay, good.
So we have volunteers in Israel in every single neighborhood in Israel.
Really?
So when we hear there's a woman in distress and considering it, that moment she'll get a phone call or she'll have somebody by their door.
Nir, that's hundreds and thousands of volunteers you have.
Correct.
And you train them all?
Oh, yes,
Oh
absolutely.
my goodness.
Absolutely.
I didn't even know that.
Yes.
Wow.
Many of these women face that same situation. We were able to take them in their most critical time, and now they just want to give back.
Wow.
So they want to share with a woman, look, I was in the same situation, I had the same difficulty, and we're told, the King Solomon tells us, that there's nothing new under the sun.
Yes.
Everybody needs to know that their problems were given to them by a blessing.
Yes.
But there are other women who felt similar problems,
Yes.
sometimes almost identical.
Yes.
And we were able to stand by their side and have a child. I'll share with you a story.
Tell us.
Just so you see the entire gamut.
Yeah.
A man calls me up in the middle of the war.
Okay.
We did a special emergency fundraiser because we felt that over 10,000 soldiers in the army currently are Efrat babies.
10,000?
Can you imagine? Over 10,000. We don't know if it's 20, we don't know the exact numbers, but it's clearly over 10,000 are serving in the current war. So we wanted to give them a hug. We didn't know who they were. So we went out and we raised soft shell jackets that gave them warmth. They were on the border up north, on the border down south, very cold at night. My son served in the beginning on the border up north and then down south. And even though during the day it was hot, it's in the desert, it's cold.
Yeah.
A man calls me up and says the following: I need you to provide jackets for my son. I told him we raised funds for 10,000 jackets. We're down to our last few. It actually was 300. And he starts very aggressively, I need for my son, I need for my son. I said, okay, relax. It's donated jackets. Why are you being so forceful? He says, listen, I don't only need for my son, I need for his entire unit. They need 300 jackets. Then I said, okay, God's talking.
Yes.
300 is what's left. It was actually left in my house, not in our central warehouse in Jerusalem. I said, okay, we're going to give him the jackets. I said, but why are you being so forceful? He says, why am I being forceful? Don't you know who my son is? I said, no, who's your son? He says, my son is your son. I said, what do you mean? He says, 20 years ago, we had 2 children. I had a fish store. I was selling fish. The business was not doing well. And all of a sudden, my wife became unexpectedly pregnant with our 3rd. And I told her, listen, we can barely feed the children that we have alive today. We can't feed the soon-to-be alive child. We just cannot. You have to terminate the pregnancy. And she said, but God has given us another child. What are we going to do? He says, God might give you another child, but he's not going to provide you finances. She says, they didn't know what to do. He says, out of nowhere, he says, I don't even know how you found out about us. All of a sudden, a volunteer appears at our doorstep and tells us, listen, we understand you're in need. We're here for you. He said, I fought with my wife for 1.5 months every day. And this crazy volunteer of yours kept coming back. She became a close friend of hers, and I didn't know what to do. So I said, you know what? I gave up. My wife really wants this child. This woman claims that you're going to help her out financially. I didn't believe, and he said to me this very clearly, I didn't believe a word your volunteer said, but I couldn't fight with my wife anymore.
Yeah.
So we went ahead and we had the child. What we provide, and we promise to provide, is the initial needs that are above and beyond whatever they're paying now.
Yes.
So now the woman says, well, I can't buy a crib. I can't buy a carriage. I can't buy a baby bath. Clothing I can't. Yeah. We can barely make ends meet today. So we provide all of that.
Wow.
He said, I didn't believe a word you said. And as the baby was born, and I was happy, but also sad, because I couldn't provide for my own child. What am I going to, I didn't believe you, he said. No way. And I come back home from the hospital, and outside of my door is a brand new crib, a brand new carriage, a brand new baby bath. I couldn't believe it. Wow. He says, 20 years ago, you fought for the life of my son, and you should know that now he's fighting in the tunnels of Gaza to protect you. Won't you give him a jacket? I said, of course I would.
Wow.
So we don't only provide the initial needs, but we provide for 2 years afterwards with diapers, baby formula, clothing, and sometimes staple goods that the woman needs because they're struggling financially at their home. And that way we give them just the hope and the comfort to have that child. God provides. It's not us. But we are the outstretched arm of God in that little moment, and God provides, opens up. If we open up a little bit, God opens up a plethora of blessings. We know it, right? I'm sure you know it. I definitely know it. We cannot imagine what the cost of bringing up a child is. It's not a crib. It's not a carriage. It's much, much more.
Much more.
God will provide, but we needed to be there at their critical moment.
I don't think there's anything in America that does that. I mean, obviously we have welfare, but I mean like a pro-life organization that not only helps during the pregnancy, but then 2 years, that's, but you know, we have such a generous God. And
can you imagine how much this cost our entire support on average?
No, I'm sitting here while you're talking, going cha-ching, 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 because I've gone and done registries with my daughter-in-laws, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
On average, the entire support costs $1,500. Wow. For $125 a month, people have the opportunity to be the outstretched arm of God and have a child in the land of Israel. I can't see, a greater opportunity than that. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
We help the women afterwards as well with vocational training. We have a shelter in Israel for women who have nowhere to live. We have lots of programs. But the life-saving support is just telling a woman, listen, you are not alone. Yeah. And as sad as it sounds, many women tell us it's the first time we were ever told that. Yeah. That is very, very sad.
Yeah. Well, we have an enemy who loves to feed us lies and get in our thoughts and tell us that we're alone, we don't matter, God's not able, he's not going to provide, just like the Father. I don't believe a word you say. And it's so important that, to me, I can think of nothing more important than God saying, take care of these. It's a miracle to get pregnant. It's a miracle to get pregnant. And take care of them, help usher them from that little vulnerable state, all the way through 9 months and then into a world, and help their parent and give them their dignity, because you do feel ashamed or hurt or sad when you can't provide, or when you got in a circumstance you didn't plan to get in. But see, none of that matters. What matters is that baby is a miracle, and that baby has a destiny.
It's true, but in Efrat, we try to emphasize even before the baby.
Yeah.
What about the woman?
Yeah, you're right.
And people talk here about women's rights. A woman was born with the ability to have a child.
Yes.
Doesn't she have a right to get that support to have that child?
You're right.
So I'll share with you one more story if I have the time.
You do?
A woman calls us up and tells us the most amazing story. Everybody's scared of the voice of the pro-life movement, right? It's such an important voice, even if she chooses otherwise. She should know there's two sides to the story.
Yes.
A woman calls us up, and I say this because of the experience of the war.
Yeah.
We oftentimes think children are our future. They're not only our future, they're our present.
Yes.
And when my son was fighting in Jabalia during the war, and we knew friends of his were killed in battle, my wife for 6 weeks did not sleep.
Yeah.
And then I realized children are not only in the future.
Yeah.
Right now, her livelihood was based on it. Rachel tells us in the Bible, if I don't have a child, I'm as if I'm dead.
Right.
I have to have a child. Calls up this woman and tells us the following story. I had 3 children. I was 43 years old. My youngest is 17 and a half years old. All of a sudden, I became pregnant unexpectedly. I'm in a loving relationship, not with the father of these children, but with a wonderful new man. I was not ready now to have another child. And she became pregnant. She picks up the phone, schedules an abortion, tries to schedule an abortion. All of a sudden, she has a flashback of when she was 16 years old, and she heard a lecture from the founder of our organization about the development of the fetus. And she says, how can I take the life of my child?
Yeah.
She closes the phone. 3 days later, she comes to schedule it again. Why? Because her friends told her, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Now to have a child, just terminate it. It's nothing. It's nothing. She says, yeah, but I have a baby. No, you don't have a baby. It's just a glob of nothingness. Yeah. She picks up the phone again to schedule the abortion. She has that flashback and she closes the phone. She tells her boyfriend, we need to go on vacation. This story, when I was 16 years old, is haunting me. I need to get it out of my head.
Yeah.
She goes up north. She goes on vacation. She prays. She goes to a very special site in Israel, in northern Israel, by a very holy rabbi. And she tells her boyfriend, you need to pray like this. I'll pray, and God will give us a sign that we're allowed to have the abortion. She re-meets her boyfriend. They walk down the street. As they walk down the street, a bus passes by with a sign of the Efrat organization that says, for the lack of finance, don't terminate your pregnancy. She said she was angry at God. She said, I wanted the opposite sign, not this sign. But she realized God gave her a sign, keep this pregnancy. The baby was born. She said, when the baby was born, I had a beautiful baby boy. But I was also saddened that I couldn't now go and explore the world with my new partner in life. And she says, less than 2 years later, she woke up on October 7th to find out that her daughter was kidnapped in the Nova Festival. She went searching for her daughter. They did crazy things in the beginning. Yeah. And 10 days later, she discovered that her daughter was murdered. Moriah, may Hashem provide vengeance for her death. She realized at that moment, she turned to God and she says, now I understand. Yeah. After Moriah was taken away from me, all I wanted to do was bury myself under the covers and die. But I couldn't because I have a young boy to take care of. Yeah. And then she said, then I realized you didn't send me that boy so I save his life. You send me that boy so he saves my life.
Absolutely.
So children are not only our future, they are our lives.
They are.
And therefore we need to help these women have the ability. If God gave them a miracle that a child is growing in their womb, and God now gave that opportunity, we are here to make sure that that opportunity can come to play. And then she said to me something so strong. Sometimes God doesn't ask us when he gives us gifts, and sometimes he doesn't ask us when he takes them away.
That's right.
So when Moriah was taken away, and we know people that have children, lost children, it's a terrible thing. God didn't ask me when Moriah was taken away at the Nova Festival, and he didn't ask me when he made me pregnant.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that choice. But thank God I chose at the end to have this baby, and he's given me life. So it's not only the child, but it's definitely the woman herself as well.
You're right. Nir, we only have a few seconds left, or a minute, and I just want you to pray. There's people that they just need encouragement right now.
Yeah. So I would like to pray that really every single one of us should realize the glory of God.
Yeah.
God is here with every single woman in the flesh.
Yes.
When she becomes pregnant, God is with her in the flesh.
Yes.
So every woman who wants to become pregnant, I pray that God should give her that gift of pregnancy.
Yes.
And everyone who's already pregnant, I pray that God should be revealed to her through the friends, the organizations around her, so that she has the ability and the hope to actualize life. And I pray, now that we are during the war, I pray that we should embrace life.
Yes.
And those who don't embrace life, God should take care of them.
Yeah.
We should be the ones to be able to embrace life, create life, be partners with God in creating life. You have that ability. Everybody who's watching us right now has that ability to actually partner with bringing life in the land of Israel. And we should all bless our neighbors and friends to make sure that we are there by their side when they need us.
That's perfect. That's awesome. Nir, thank you so much. Thank you for your life, your ministry, and all that Efrat is doing. Thank you for watching today. I encourage you to go to israelbabies.com and connect with this organization. Thank you so much. I'm Jen Mallon, and I'll see you next time.